The Torah offers amazing life lessons, and in this week's Torah portion, Vayetze, we learn more about Yaakov as he embarks on a mission to go find a wife and to build a home, a Jewish home. And this is something that we can all take a lot from. What does Yaakov do as he's going out of Beersheba? He's going to his uncle's, who is living in a place called Haran, a place that is full of debauchery, a lot of immoral people. What does he do before he goes into that place? He goes and he prays. And he prays at the place that is the Mount Moriah, which becomes the site of the temple. And over there, he does something very interesting, which is to take a bunch of rocks and put them around his head. And then he goes into a deep sleep and he has that famous dream that we all know about. Now, the Lubavitcher Rebbe comes up with an amazing insight about those rocks. What's the reason for those rocks? Now, Rashi says that the rocks were there, he put them there to protect himself from animals, from dangerous animals. But when you look in deeper, what is that? What do those rocks represent? And if they are to protect him from animals, why is it that he didn't cover his entire body? Now, of course, an animal can just leap over a rock and then attack you. So, in the end of the day, it's not really something that is so helpful. Also, if Yaakov had such an amazing level of trust and faith in Hashem, why did he even need rocks? Why didn't he just sleep and trust that Hashem will protect him? So the rocks are there to protect his head, because the whole idea of a person is that your head, which is the seat of your soul, where your soul resides, has to be always protected. It has to be protected from the elements of the world, from the world that is often contrary to the wisdom of the Torah, the world that has a lot of temptations. Our heads have to be protected. And when our heads are protected, then we are protected, and we have the blessing of Hashem that accompanies us wherever we go. Now, the head is also represents the idea of keeping your head to a connection with God, keeping your head for Torah and learning and for prayer, but using your body to make a living. What does that mean? It means that if you approach making a living by keeping your head devoted to God and devoted to your learning, but only use your hands to work with Him, then you're not going to be constantly worried and obsessed with your work at all times. You'll know that there are times that you have to devote to learning, and because you then know that ultimately your livelihood is only coming from God. And of course, He wants you to create a vessel by which you have to work, and then you get the blessing of making a proper living. But the idea is that you only use your hands and not use your head, and as a result of that, become constantly bombarded with worries of making a living, and at all times, be it day or night, Shabbat, be it whenever you're with your wife or kids or whoever it is, you're always thinking about how can I make more money, and at the end of the day, you're not happy. So that's not what we want. We want to keep our heads connected to the Torah and to work in a way that we have to do the least amount of effort possible to receive the blessing from God to have a living. Now, that does not mean that we should do no work, but it means that we should have a proper balance. And that proper balance is something we learn from Yaakov. In fact, in today's Daf Yomi and Masechet Nidarim, there's another beautiful teaching that reinforces the same idea. And that is, it talks about Moshe Rabbeinu, and that Moshe Rabbeinu did not get paid for teaching Torah to the Jewish people. Now, how did he become wealthy? He became wealthy actually as a result of him making the tablets out of sapphire. He made the tablets, upon which Hashem wrote the Ten Commandments. They were written on sapphire. And so the bits and pieces of the sapphire that remained afterwards were for Moshe to keep, and that's how he became wealthy. So there's a beautiful commentary in there. I can't remember who it was attributed to, but it said that this is an amazing example of how when someone is not doesn't allow his worldly pursuits to keep him from being connected to Torah, to learning Torah, because Torah is ultimately the wisdom that gives you clarity in life about what your mission is, what you need to do. When someone does that, then God assures him to have wealth and success. And this is what happened with Moshe Rabbeinu. He didn't have to worry about how he's going to make a living. He ended up getting those bits of sapphire, which made him exceedingly wealthy. So this is a beautiful lesson to step into the Shabbat with, to disconnect from the work, to disconnect from the rat race, and to protect your head and to enrich your head with learning, with spending time with your loved ones, and really, really taking in the amazing blessings that happen from really just focusing on Shabbat and being in that state of mind and being able to connect to God in a way that you can't do during the week. So step away from the work, forget about it, and you can come back to it when the week starts. And remember to protect your head just like Yaakov protected his head, and that enabled him to ultimately build a home, a Jewish home that led to the Jewish people. Shabbat Shalom.